Donald Trump has been telling reporters that an armada of U.S. Navy vessels is heading towards Iran. Revelation comes as the president renewed warnings to Tehran against killing protesters or restarting its nuclear program. We have a big force going toward Iran. I stopped 837 hanging. If you hang those people, you're going to be hit harder than you've ever been hit. It'll make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts. The USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier just went dark while transiting toward Iran, and the world is holding its breath. The nuclear-powered supercarrier crossed the Strait of Malha and entered the Bay of Bengal, but then turned off its transponder and is now traveling dark, according to Marinetra.com monitoring systems. Think about what that means. A 100,000-ton aircraft carrier carrying 90 combat aircraft just disappeared from tracking systems while heading towards strike position against Iran. That's deliberate operational security indicating imminent military action. Before we break down exactly what happened and why this matters so much, please make sure you subscribe to Daily Military Talks. We're giving you the real analysis. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group was redirected from the Indo-Pacific to the Middle East amid Iran's internal unrest. The Pentagon ordered the redeployment as drones cracked down on protesters, killed thousands, and Trump threatened intervention. Satellite imagery captured by Copernicus detected the Lincoln making a westward turn in the South China Sea on January 15th. The Carrier Strike Group includes flagship USS Abraham Lincoln, CBN-72 with 3 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, USS Spruant, USS Michael Murphy, and USS Frank E. Peterson Jr. Think about the firepower moving into position. Carrier Air Wing 9 embarked on the Lincoln consists of 8 squadrons flying F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters, FA-18EF Super Hornets, EA-18G Growlers, electronic warfare jets, E-2D Hawkeyes, CMV-22B Ospreys, and MH-60RS Seahawks, and the F-35C aircraft from Marine Fighter Attack Squadron VMFA-314, Navy FA-18 Super Hornet fighters, and EA-18 Growler electronic attack aircraft can jam and strike Iranian air defenses. That's the exact capability package needed to suppress Iran's rebuilt defensive systems. A U.S. Navy fast attack nuclear-powered submarine typically operates with carrier strike groups, though identity is not disclosed for operational security. That means there's likely a Los Angeles or Virginia-class submarine with Tomahawk cruise missiles hunting alongside the Lincoln undetected. Think about the strategic positioning. OSINT trackers estimate the Lincoln remains approximately 3 to 5 days sailing from CENTCOM area of responsibility encompassing the Arabian Sea and Persian Gulf. That puts arrival around January 24th, 2026. Perfect timing for coordinated strikes. 12 F-15E Strike Eagle fighter jets from RAF Lakenheim, England landed at Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan over the past 24 hours. These are accompanied by 4 KC-135 Stratanker aerial refueling jets enabling extended strike missions deep into Iran. CENTCOM confirmed that a U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle assigned to the 494th Expeditionary Fighter Squadron landed at a base in the Middle East, stating, "The F-15's presence enhances combat readiness and promotes regional security and stability." Think about what F-15 Strike Eagles bring. These aircraft can carry 29,000 pounds of ordnance, far more than stealth F-35s. They were instrumental in defending against Iranian cruise missiles during June 2025's 12-day war. Now, the U.S. has 3 Strike Eagle squadrons in the region. According to open-source flight tracking, C-17 Globemaster III cargo jets are flooding the region with increased flights to Diego Garcia and other bases. A strike would require influx of air defense systems, material, and troops. Exactly what heavy transports deliver. Reports indicate bombers landed at Diego Garcia, the joint US-UK base with unusually long runways, enabling heavy strategic bombers like B-2 Spirit aircraft to launch long-range strike sorties. These can hit hardened underground targets that F-15s and F-18s cannot penetrate. Think about the layered strike package assembling. Stealth B-2s suppress deep underground nuclear facilities. F-35Cs establish air superiority. EA-18G Growlers jam Iranian radars. F-15ES deliver massive conventional payloads. FA-18 Super Hornets provide close air support. Tomahawk cruise missiles from destroyers and submarines saturate defenses. And unconfirmed reports suggest USS George H.W. Bush Carrier Group also departed Norfolk on January 13th, heading to the region. That would add second full carrier strike group with similar capabilities, doubling American air power. A former high-ranking U.S. military official stated, "It would be massive. First, we have to get forces there. Then we would need to stage and employ them. Then we need to sustain them. And we would have to be prepared to do all that for a long time. It would dwarf anything we have likely done in the recent past." Think about the scale being described. Larger than Iraq 2003, larger than Libya 2011, larger than Syria operations. This is full-spectrum conventional war preparation against peer adversary with advanced air defenses, ballistic missiles, and regional proxy networks. Trump told advisors that if the United States takes military action in Iran, he wants it to deliver swift and decisive result, avoiding prolonged conflict. That means overwhelming initial strikes designed to Iran's ability to sustain operations. Multiple regional and American media accounts report U.S. carrier movements, bomber activity at Diego Garcia, and reinforced air defenses across the Gulf as officials coordinate contingency planning for Iranian retaliation. Think about what Iran is facing. The Pentagon was expected to surge additional assets, including possibly aircraft carrier strike groups accompanied by cruisers and missile destroyers. The added firepower serves as deterrent, but also gives Trump additional options if he chooses strikes. Share this with everyone you know because several sources said there have been long-running concerns among U.S. officials that the military didn't have right mix of assets in place to protect against potential massive retaliatory strike from Iran given that Trump surged much military force to Caribbean supporting Venezuela operation. That's why the carrier deployment is critical. Trump captured Venezuelan President Maduro on January 3rd, diverting significant assets. Now those forces must reposition while simultaneously building up Middle East presence. The logistics are staggering. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu informed the U.S. that Israel was not prepared to defend itself in event of Iranian response to American strike, given the U.S. military lacked sufficient forces in region to assist, as done during June 2025 war. Think about Israel's vulnerability. Iran fired missiles killing 32 Israelis during last conflict. Iran also targeted a Laud air base in Qatar, where 10,000 American troops are stationed. Both know Iran will retaliate massively if Trump strikes. That's why reinforcements are essential. Reports grew that non-essential British and American personnel were evacuated from Al Udeid base in Qatar, supporting potential Iran operation. That's the clearest indicator that strikes are imminent. You don't evacuate unless attack is coming. The U.S. military reinforced Patriot and THAAD batteries across Gulf states as part of preparations for Iranian response. Washington tightened and augmented joint command centers with regional partners, including Israel. Think about the defensive preparations. Iran has thousands of ballistic missiles that can reach Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Israel. Every American base and allied capital needs layered missile defense before strikes begin. IDF Operations Directorate, Planning Directorate, and Israel's defense attachés intensified contacts with CENTCOM and Pentagon over past 2 days preparing for multiple scenarios. 3 new F-35I Adir stealth fighters landed at Needham Air Base, strengthening Israel's multi-layered defense posture. Social media reports noted GPS disruptions over Iranian airspace and apparent use of electronic warfare intended to test systems degrading Iranian radars and sensors. That's reconnaissance preparing the battlefield, jamming tests before actual operations. Think about what Iran sees developing. Massive American carrier strike group approaching. Bombers at Diego Garcia, 3 F-15 squadrons in Jordan, evacuations from Qatar, air defenses reinforcing, electronic warfare testing, all signs pointing to imminent attack. Trump stated repeatedly over past week that Iran halted executions of citizens and postponed hanging of hundreds of protesters. He framed this as why he didn't strike, but then military preparations intensified. Trump told reporters January 16th, "Nobody convinced me. I convinced myself." You had yesterday scheduled over 800 hangings. They didn't hang anyone. They canceled the hangings. That had a big impact. But foreign outlets reported intensified covert preparations for large-scale operation in the last 2 days. Think about the deception operation. Trump publicly claims Iran stopped killing protesters, so he's holding fire. Meanwhile, carrier groups deploy, bombers stage, fighters forward position, personnel evacuate bases. Classic misdirection before surprise attack. Share this with everyone you know because American officials told Jerusalem Post that all options are on the table now. They added the goal is creating significant grouping in region, providing Trump wide range of options if he decides to strike Iran. The repositioning aligns with directives from CENTCOM to prepare for 24/7 major operational support over next month as tensions with Iran reach boiling point. That's sustained combat operations, not quick in-and-out strikes. Think about sustained operations requirement. CENTCOM isn't preparing for single night of bombing. They're establishing infrastructure for month-long campaign. That suggests targeting not just nuclear sites, but entire IRGC command structure, missile arsenals, naval bases, proxy networks. Trump's strike options run the gamut from surgical strikes on IRGC forces and Basaji paramilitary troops killing protesters to decapitation strike on Ayatollah, came to again striking nuclear facilities. Going after Iran's air defenses and short-range standoff weapons could make future operations less risky. The United States is repositioning significant naval and air assets to conduct coercive deterrence and signal readiness for potential intervention following Iranian internal unrest. Any direct military action faces high risk of broad Iranian retaliation against U.S. bases in Gulf, Israeli territory, and global energy infrastructure. Think about what happens when strikes begin. Iran immediately launches ballistic missiles at Aluid, Al-Afra, Prince Sultan Air Base, Camp Lamanier. Hezbollah fires 150,000 rockets from Lebanon into Israel. Houthi rebels attack Saudi oil facilities and shipping in Red Sea. Iraqi militias assault U.S. embassy in Baghdad. External pressure or removal of top leadership could actually strengthen Iranian internal cohesion and empower hardline factions like IRGC rather than fostering political moderation. That's the strategic paradox. Strikes might rally Iranians' Iran regime. Protests that began December 28th over rising prices and devalued currency appear to be dissipating in wake of regime's harsh response. Heavy police presence and deadly crackdowns largely suppressed demonstrations, according to witnesses and human rights groups. Think about the irony. Trump threatened intervention to help protesters. But by the time carrier arrives in strike position, protests have been crushed. So what's the justification for attack? Regime change, nuclear program, regional proxies? The mission keeps shifting. Conflict in Gulf would have pronounced impact on global oil and gas markets driven by heightened risk of supply disruptions in Strait of Hormuz and Red Sea. Disruptions to tanker traffic could prompt coordinated military responses from regional and allied powers. 20% of global oil passes through Strait of Hormuz daily. Iran threatened to close it if attacked. That would spike oil prices to $200+ per barrel, triggering global recession. Every country has economic stake in preventing this war. Think about the diplomatic pressure building. Gulf Arab states Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Egypt all cautioned the U.S. against strikes. Russia and China warned at UN Security Council that military action violates international law and risks catastrophic escalation. Cato Institute fellow John Hoffman warned that striking Iran risks entangling Washington in domestic upheaval without clear endgame and endangering U.S. troops across Middle East. Those clamoring for involvement will likely press for sustained engagement, ensuring regime's demise, something U.S. should avoid given overextension abroad. But Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Daryl Cottle underscored that U.S. Navy can reposition carrier strike groups globally in under 2 weeks, highlighting operational flexibility and strategic reach central to American maritime power projection. Think about the capability demonstration. Moving carriers from South China Sea to Persian Gulf in 10 days shows China and Russia that America can concentrate overwhelming force anywhere on Earth rapidly. That's deterrence through demonstration of capability. Both USS Theodore Roosevelt and USS George H.W. Bush left Norfolk within 48 hours for movements analysts suggest relate to heightened force posture requirements. Neither completed standard training exercises, underscoring urgency. Three carrier strike groups potentially converging on Middle East represents largest American naval concentrations since Iraq invasion 2003, combined with bomber task forces and forward-deployed fighter wings. This creates a strike package capable of sustained operations against hardened targets across Iran. The arrival of full carrier strike group provides unique combination of sustained air power, electronic warfare, maritime strike capabilities, and sea control unmatched by other platforms. Its floating air base generating 150-plus sorties daily for weeks. Think about what Iran must do now. Activate all air defense batteries. Disperse ballistic missiles to hardened mountain facilities. Alert proxy forces across region. Prepare retaliatory strikes. Shut down internet, preventing coordination with protesters. Hunker down and wait for American blow. Bottom line is this. Iran is scrambling as the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier enters strike position, and the world is on edge watching the most dangerous military confrontation in years develop in real time. The nuclear-powered supercarrier crossed Strait of Malha, entered Bay of Bengal, then went dark, turning off transponder while heading towards strike position. That's 100,000-ton vessel carrying 90 combat aircraft disappearing from tracking deliberately. USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group includes 3 Arleigh Burke destroyers, nuclear attack submarine, carrier Air Wing 9 with F-35C stealth fighters, FA-18 Super Hornets, EA-18G Growlers arriving in strike range January 24-26. 12 F-15E Strike Eagles from RAF Latkin, Heath landed Jordan with KC-135 tankers. 3 Strike Eagle squadrons now positioned. Bomber stage Diego Garcia. C-17 transports flooding region with equipment. Unconfirmed reports of USS George H.W. Bush Carrier Group also heading to region, adding second full strike group, doubling air power, potentially creating largest naval concentration since Iraq 2003. Trump wants swift and decisive result, avoiding prolonged conflict, meaning overwhelming initial strikes, crippling Iran's operational capacity. Non-essential personnel evacuated from Al-Udeid, Qatar. Patriot and THAAD batteries reinforced across Gulf. Command centers augmented. GPS disruptions and electronic warfare testing over Iran. All indicators of imminent attack. Netanyahu informed U.S.-Israel not prepared to defend against Iranian retaliation without adequate American support, hence massive force buildup. Strike options include surgical IRGC targets, decapitation of common eye, nuclear facilities, air defenses, or comprehensive campaign against military infrastructure and proxy networks. Any direct action faces high risk of broad Iranian retaliation against U.S. bases, Israeli territory, global energy infrastructure, and Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of world's oil transits daily. Gulf states Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Egypt warned against strikes. Russia and China condemned intervention at UN Security Council, but carrier keeps advancing. Protests that triggered crisis now dissipating under regime crackdown, leaving questionable justification for military action. Mission unclear, regime change, nuclear program, supporting protesters already defeated, global economic stakes massive. Strait of Hormuz closure would spike oil to 200+ per barrel, triggering worldwide recession. Every nation has interest preventing this war. Yet 3 carrier groups, bomber task forces, fighter squadrons, missile defense batteries, evacuations all point to strikes coming within days, not weeks. The USS Abraham Lincoln traveling dark somewhere in Bay of Bengal, advancing toward Persian Gulf. F-15s in Jordan ready. Bombers at Diego Garcia armed. Electronic warfare testing Iranian defenses. Personnel evacuated from likely retaliation targets. World watching. Markets nervous. Oil prices rising. Allies cautioning restraint. Adversaries warning catastrophe. Iran scrambling defensive preparations. America positioning overwhelming force. Everything indicates the largest Middle East military operation since Iraq invasion 2003 could begin the moment Abraham Lincoln enters Arabian Sea. Whether Trump orders attack or this remains coercive deterrence will determine if 2026 sees regional war or tense standoff. One thing is certain, the world is on edge as American supercarrier steams towards strike position against Iran. The next 72 hours could change everything.